Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is January 8th, 2024, and we now know how much money will Barcelona make from their participation in the Spanish Super League. Also, it's reported that the club are growing frustrated with Joao Felix, and they're now having doubts about permanently signing him. And finally, Lucas Bergvall has spoken about his future. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and this is your regularly scheduled live stream on every Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where not only do I give you the news, but I get to interact with all of you through the comment section, answering any questions and discussing anything you might want to discuss in the chat section. I know I didn't do any of these live streams last week, and I've been doing a lot of short live streams where I only give you the news. But don't worry, these live streams are officially back starting right now. So, of course, as always, I will put timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline for those of you who want to skip through the discussion. And as always, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. All of this helps the channel continue to grow. Now, let's dive right into the news so then we can start a discussion in the chat section. But let's start with the news because Barcelona defeated yesterday UD Barbastro or Unión Deportiva Barbastro 2-3 in what was an underwhelming performance. Barcelona did have a good first half where the team combined really well. They were moving the ball really quickly. They were penetrating through with their passes, which is what you would expect Barcelona to do against a fourth division team. However, after scoring 2 goals, we had that corner kick as a result of a mistake by Joao Felix that led to Barbastro scoring their first goal. And after that, Barcelona seemed to lose the control of the match a little bit. And fortunately for us, Barcelona did end up winning 2-3. But in my opinion, an acceptable result, especially when you're talking about a fourth division team. We're not talking about Almeria, who's the bottom of the table in the first division. We're not talking about second division. We're not talking about third. We're talking about fourth division. These players are practically amateur players. And yet, once again, Barcelona were only able to win by a 1-goal difference, which seems to become a habit of the team. But nonetheless, I'm not going to say anything more. I don't want to start this live stream on a negative note. I know I've been constantly here criticizing the team after every match. So all I'm going to say is I'm glad that we won. We're off to the round of 16. And I do want to focus on one positive thing, which was Héctor Fort. Now, for those of you who don't know who Héctor Fort is, he's a right back who currently plays for Barca Athletic. He played all full 90 minutes yesterday against UD Barbastro. He had to play in the left back position because Alejandro Balde was sick. He was suffering some intestinal problems. And I must say, I was very impressed with the youngster's performance. And I was impressed with his stats, which I would like to share with you. And I will make this bigger so all of you can see it better. But if you look at Héctor Fort's stats, he played the entire 90 minutes. He had 1 assist, 4 clearances, 1 interception, 2 tackles, 6 ground duels, which he won 2 of them. He won 1 out of 2 aerial duels. He only lost possession 12 times, which might seem a lot. But again, let's remember this was his first time playing a full match with the first team. He had 65 touches with a 94% pass accuracy, completing 29 out of 31 passes. He had 2 key passes, 2 successful crosses out of 4, 1 successful long ball out of 1, and of course, 1 successful dribble attempt and 1 created chance. Now, pretty impressive numbers for Héctor Fort, who again, he's a Barca Athletic player playing for the first time with the first team. And not only that, he plays in the right back position. and had to play in the left back position, adapted really well to that position. So very impressive. And the reason I highlight this is because I know we've had that problem with the right back position ever since Dani Alves left. We haven't had really anyone to fill that role as you would expect. We do have Joao Cancelo right now on loan, but of course, we don't know whether Barcelona will be successful in signing him on a permanent basis. And even if they do, Joao Cancelo is nearing the 30 years old. So we are going to need a young right back. And well, what better place to look than in our academy itself, where we have someone like Hector Fort, who's doing impeccably well with Barca Athletic. He showed us yesterday that he can do well with the first team. And of course, there is Julian Araujo, who's currently on loan. But I must say, I was very, very happy with Hector Fort's performance. Now, let me know what you thought about the youngster's performance in the chat section. For those of you who are watching the live stream once it ends, let me know in the comment section. What do you thought about Hector Fort? Do you think he's someone who can fill that right back position role in the future or not? I'm very curious to know. Now, while we're still on the topic of Copa del Rey, Barcelona now knows who will be their next opponent in the round of 16, which will be Unionistas de Salamanca. They are in the 3rd division. They're actually in the same group as Barca Athletic. So one division up from Barbastro. Again, Barbastro were 4th division team. Unionistas de Salamanca are in the 3rd division. This match is set to be played either on January 17th or January 18th. Do not sleep on these guys. I only say that, well, I say that for 2 reasons. The first one is they just eliminated Villarreal from the Copa del Rey, and also given the team's performance as of late, do not think this will be an easy match. We already saw that Barcelona struggled with a 4th division team. This is a 3rd division team. So don't think this will be an easy win, not at all. But hopefully we can win and advance to the quarterfinals. Anyways, that is the first segment of news. Let's head to the chat section, answer some questions, get a discussion going. And I do want to talk about the Spanish Super Cup and also a little injury update about what's going on with Barcelona's players. All right, let's see. Stealth Thing says, do you think Ian Subiabre would be a good option for Barca? He plays in the wing. I have not watched him play, so I can't really say. I'll check him out, and maybe I can answer that question in a separate video. Livid says, Vitor Roque is going to be like Mohagra from JJK. He just needs to adapt to play in Europe, and he'll cook. I think Vitor Roque will be, and there's a lot of media outlets in Brazil already saying this, but I think Vitor Roque is going to be more of a Ronaldo Nazario, the real Ronaldo, not the diva. And I'm already starting to see it. It's still too early. Obviously, he's still 18. He's plenty of room to grow, to get better, to adapt. But I'm already seeing the same profile, and I think Vitor Roque will definitely be one of those players who will leave a mark in Barcelona. Of course, I don't want to jinx it, but we've only seen him play a few minutes, but you can already see the hunger, his desire to prove himself. So I'm very, very happy with this signing. Hopefully it goes well. I'm sure it will go well, but very excited with Vitor Roque's arrival. And Grandmaster Yoda, who's always in the chat section, says at least we're not Man U. If they concede one, and they just don't care anymore. True, we might not stop caring like Man U does, but I have noticed whenever we concede a goal, the team automatically becomes very nervous and they start making a lot of mistakes. We saw it against Barbastro. Team was playing well, 2-0, everything's good. Barbastro scored that one goal, and all of a sudden, nerves set in, and players start making mistakes, and we'll lose control of the match, which is not good. This can't happen. I mean, if we're losing our cool against a 4th division team, what's going to happen once we start playing 1st division teams in Copa del Rey? What's going to happen in the Champions League once we start playing, some more difficult opponents? We luckily had an easier group or easy-ish group. It's very worrying. It's definitely very worrying, the mental state of the players. Anyways, let's do another segment of news, and then we'll continue addressing the chat section. But let's talk about an injury update with Barcelona players, starting with Íñigo Martínez, who suffered an injury against Atlético de Madrid. He injured his right hamstring. He was out for almost a month. We saw Xavi call him in yesterday, and he only played, I think it was like 1 minute, and he immediately had to be subbed out once again, with Sergio Roberto taking his place. And while after conducting medical exams, Barcelona have officially confirmed that Inigo Martinez has suffered a hamstring injury, but now in his left thigh. So his injury before was in his right thigh. Now he has an injury in his left thigh. As always, Barcelona have not given us a date when the player will be back. As usually, they say his recovery will dictate when Inigo Martinez will be back. But some reports are stating that he could be out 3 to 4 weeks, which is usually how long it takes to heal from a hamstring injury. Now, Barcelona are confirming that this left hamstring injury is not as serious as the one he suffered in his right hamstring. So that's good news. It could mean that he could be back by the Champions League match, which is set to be played in February against the Italian side, Napoli. And even if he's ready before that, there are reporting that Barcelona do not want to rush him back before that they want to reserve him for the Champions League. Of course, before his injury, Inigo Martinez was being a starter for Xavi. He was absolutely imperial in that position as a center back right next to Ronald Araujo. So hopefully, he can come back once again, help the team defensively, and we might not see him until the Champions League because, again, even if he heals before, Barcelona don't want to rush him back. They want to make sure he's fully healthy for the Champions League, which is where we're going to need him the most. The more updates because Pedri did train today with the team. That's a picture of his training today on your screen. Good news because we could see Pedri back much sooner than initially anticipated. It was being said that Pedri's not going to come back until the end of January, maybe beginning of February. But now that he has done part of his training with the first team, that indicates that Pedri could be ready before we initially anticipated. Now, it is reported that Pedri will travel with the team to Saudi Arabia to play in the Spanish Super Cup. So we might even see him ready by then. Some are saying that he might not be ready by the semifinal, but could be ready for the final, which is next weekend. So again, great news because it seems like Pedri could be ready much earlier than initially anticipated, where it was initially thought he would be back by the end of January, but now we could see him back as soon as this weekend. And one more update because today İlkay Gundogan did not train with the team, but don't worry, it's not a serious injury. We saw Alejandro Balde miss the match against Barbastro because some intestinal issues. It's probably a stomach virus, and it seems like İlkay Gundogan now has caught the same thing. So he missed training, but of course, with stomach viruses, you're only out a day or two. So it's expected that Gundogan will be back, will be fit for the Spanish Super Cup, and will be traveling with the team to Saudi Arabia. Now, speaking of the Spanish Super Cup, as you already know, Barcelona will play the semifinal this Thursday, January 11th, against Osasuna. The other semifinal is going to be between Real Madrid and Atletico de Madrid, which, curiously enough, Real Madrid drew Atletico Madrid in Copa del Rey, so the next opponent, so they're going to play another Madrid derby in the Copa del Rey. But nonetheless, semifinal on Thursday against Osasuna. If Barcelona win, they would, of course, advance to the final against the winner of between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. And we now know how much Barcelona will make from their participation in the Spanish Super Cup. It's reported that Barcelona will make 6 million euros just for participating. So just for going to the Spanish Super Cup to Saudi Arabia, Barcelona will make 6 million euros net. If they lose against Osasuna and they're eliminated, they're going to make another 750,000 euros. So they would make a total of 6.7 million euros. If they win against Osasuna and advance to the final, they would get an extra million euros. So that would be a total of 7 million euros. And if they win the Spanish Super Cup, they would get an extra 500,000, making a total pot 7.5 million euros. So Barcelona will for sure win 6 million euros just for participating. If they go all the way, they can make up to 7.5, which, given the club's finances, it's very much welcomed, and it will be a good financial boost, especially ahead of the summer transfer market, where Barcelona will be looking to sign a midfielder and also a left winger. Anyways, let's get back to the chat section, do a few more comments, answer a few more questions, and then we will talk about Joao Felix and what's going on with him at Barcelona. All right, let's see. Versatil says, do you think Barca should sack Xavi? I don't think they should sack him midway through the season. I've said it before. I believe we've given Xavi enough time. He's shown us that he's not a Barcelona-level coach. I think he's a good transitional coach. someone to take the reins of the team for now. But I think he's shown us that he's not really a coach that could build the project from scratch. Maybe if the project was already built, Xavi would be able to manage it, but he's definitely not a coach to build a project with. And the reason I'm saying this, or the motive I'm basing this on, is that we really haven't seen any improvement since Xavi has taken over. And Xavi's been at the club for 2 years, and in 2 years, the team still lacks identity. We still don't have any kind of style of play. We don't have any mechanisms in place. We don't have any of that, which is, by now, you should start seeing it. When you're built now, projects take time. Don't get me wrong. Projects take several seasons until they finally mature and fully develop. But as a project is growing and developing, you can see it start taking shape. You can see the team starting playing with a certain identity. And by now, 2 years in, we should already see that. I'm not saying we should be winning, Champions League matches and trebles and sextuples, but we should already at least start seeing some kind of identity develop, and we haven't seen that at all. So I think Xavi has shown us that he's not a coach that you can depend on to build a project, or at least not a project as big as Barcelona. So I don't think he should be a Barcelona coach, but I also don't think we should sack him. I think the best thing to do is wait until the end of the season, ask for his resignation so he can resign on his own. He is a Barcelona legend after all, one of the best midfielders to play, not only for Barca, but in the entire world. So I think we should wait until the end of the season. After all, at the end of the season, there are more coaches available. Contracts expire. Coaches look to leave some teams. So that's a better place to start with a project versus midway through the season where there aren't that many options available. And plus, it's a lot harder for a coach to come in and kind of continue with a project that someone else started. It's much better to start fresh in the summer. There's more options available. You can sign whatever coach you want, and that coach can come. You have the entire summer transfer market for that coach to offload players, to sign new players, and to build his project the way he's supposed to do it from scratch. And then you have, of course, the preseason where that coach can start trying the players out. So that's what I think. Sorry for the long answer, but that's what I believe Barcelona should do. And that's, I think, what they will do. I don't think Laporta would ever sack Xavi midway through the season. Let's see. King City says, guys, what do you think if we sell Christensen and Eric Garcia and promote Mikel Fay and Baque? We could get about 40 million for Christensen, probably 25 to 30 for Garcia. His stock has gone up. I think it's a good idea. I would hate to see Christensen go. I think he was absolutely phenomenal last season. This season, he's not getting as much playing time. We haven't seen him as good as last season. Maybe last season was his peak. He is, after all, 27 years old. That's when players hit their peak. So I don't know. Maybe last season was his peak, and now he's on the downfall. So I don't mind offloading him, even though he is a great center back, because after all, we are stacked on center backs on the first team in the academy. So I don't mind seeing him go, especially since he arrived for free. We can get some good money for him. Eric, I would like to see him come back and stay in Barcelona, but I don't mind him if we offload him either. I would like to see Faye more with the first team before making that decision whether we could, whether we could promote him. I know there's a lot of hype behind him. There's a lot of promise, but then he's only played with the Barca Athletic. There's been dozens and dozens of players who were absolutely phenomenal with Barca Athletic, only to make it to the first team and completely fall apart. I'm not saying it's going to happen with Faye, but I would like to see him playing more with the first team to see whether he does indeed have what it takes to be a first-team player. Anyways, let's get back to the news because I know I've been talking for quite some time. But let's talk about Joao Felix, and then we'll come back to the comment section because Javi Miguel, who I've talked about here before, he's a reporter very close to Xavi and his entourage, so very reputable source of news when it comes to Barcelona or to Xavi or the players. And Javi Miguel has reported that Barcelona are starting to grow frustrated with Joao Felix and are doubting permanently signing him. Now, the reason why these doubts are starting to emerge within Barcelona is that Joao Felix has been very inconsistent with his performance. We've seen him giving us some great performances only to disappear for the next 5-6 matches, then another great performance just to go again ghost for another 6-7 matches. He has not been consistent at all. But what makes it worse is that he's already starting to display his diva-like attitude, which was a big problem back at Chelsea and back at Atletico de Madrid. And there's been plenty of reports about this. You don't have to take my word for it. You can Google it, but there's been a lot of complaints over the years that Joao Felix is a diva. He doesn't like to work hard. He always has attitude problems with his teammates, attitude problems with the coaching staff. And it seems like this has started to manifest again here at Barcelona. We saw some of it over this weekend against Barbastro in a Copa del Rey, making faces, complaining to his teammates. Not whenever he lost the ball, it was kind of like he didn't care. And it's not good because not only is he now not performing, but with his bad attitude, he's making things worse. He makes things worse for his teammates, for the coaches. And this has started to create doubts within the club on whether Barcelona should permanently sign him at the end of the season because, of course, we all know he's currently on loan from Atletico Madrid. Now, I said this before, and I'll say it again. I was one of the people who was extremely happy when Barcelona signed Joao Felix. I think he's an incredibly talented player, one of the most talented players in all of Europe. But after what I've seen so far with his inconsistent behavior and now with this attitude that he's having, I say the only thing we should pay for is a return ticket to Madrid. Thank you, Joao Felix, for your services. But I don't think Barcelona should sign him, especially given how much Atletico Madrid want to ask for. They're talking about 80 million euros. Maybe they'd be willing to negotiate all the way down to 60 or 50. Given what we've seen, I don't think Joao Felix is worth that, which is unfortunate because, again, I believe he's an incredibly talented player. But with the bad attitude that he has, with the work ethic that he has, which we've already heard multiple complaints about this all through the years at Atletico Madrid, even at the short stint he did in Chelsea. And now it seems like a pattern. And when you have a player with a pattern like that, things are not going to change. Now, he could prove me wrong. He could have an incredible second half of the season. But from what I've seen so far, I think we should send Joao Felix back in. You let me know. What do you think? Anyways, let's get back to the chat section. And then we will do one last bit of news about Lucas Bergvall because he has spoken about his future. And let's see. Where did we leave off? MP7 says, give the youngsters chance. The veterans doesn't perform. 100% agree with you. I think every time we've seen the youngsters play, they've played 10 times better with a lot more intensity, with a lot more heart than the so-called stars that we have, whether it's Fermín López, whether it's Marc, whether it's Lamine Yamal. I mean, they've all played much better than most of the players on our squad. I mean, any of the attackers could be benched. Rafinha, Lewandowski, Joao Felix can all be benched. And why not? Give the chance to Lamine. Give the chance to Vitor Roque. Give the chance to Marc. Of course, Lamine is getting his chances, to be fair. But I absolutely agree 100% with you. And my man Klaus, who's always at every live stream, says, Ronaldo Nazario was already doing great things at PSV. And he says, but I see message potential in Roque. Yes, 100%. Of course, he just arrived, so it's going to take him some time, but I'm already seeing the potential, and it's looking good. The future looks bright, guys. Okay, let's see. What else? MP7 says, I'm a bit worried about Pedri. Do you think Xavi has to do what he has done with Yamal, which is give him limited playing time? Pedri is worrisome because he's undoubtedly one of the most talented midfielders in the world. Unfortunately, that season that he had under Koeman, where he played every single match there was to play, La Liga, Champions League, Copa del Rey, and then after that, he was called up to the Spanish team, played, I think it was like 70-something matches, and he was only 18 years old. I think that has definitely affected his body. You know, that happened with Dembélé. His physical trainer at, I'm blanking on the team, whatever team he was playing at before Dortmund, said what happened to Dembélé is when he was young, when he was a teenager, he was overplayed, he was overused, and as a result, his muscles were weakened, and that's why he was constantly prone to injury. Because your teen years are a very, very incredibly sensitive period of your life. In your teen years, your body goes through a lot of transformation, your muscles are developing, your bones are developing, and it's a very critical stage of your development. And as an athlete, if you're overused, overplayed during that critical stage of your development, it will affect you for the rest of your life. And that's what happened with Dembélé, and I think that's what's happening with Pedri. So I really think what needs to be done is that Pedri, they need to sit down with the physical trainers, with the dietitians, and they need to figure out what's going on with his body, what was weakened, what happened during that season that affected him, and start, working with that. Change his diet, change his workout routine, whatever they need to do. That's what they need in order to strengthen his muscles so he can stop getting injured so much. Anyways, let's do one more bit of news and then we will end the live stream. But let's talk about Lucas Bergvall, because the Swedish player has finally spoken about his future. And I will make this bigger for you, and I will take off the logo so you can see it better. But when asked about where he's going to play next summer, he says, "I know there's a lot of speculation, but I'm trying to concentrate on the national team, and I'm happy to be here for the January tour. Now I'm a Djurgården player. It is a pride that my club is asking for so much money, but Djurgården and my agents will take care of that. I don't know where I will play next season." Now, not exactly an endorsement saying I'm going to Barcelona or I want to go to Barcelona, but definitely leaving the door open to possibly come to Barcelona by saying, I don't know where I'm going to be playing next season. So in other words, Lucas Bergvall is looking to leave his current club. Otherwise, he would have said, I'm happy here at Djurgården. I'm going to be here next season. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, I don't know where I'm going to play. So definitely leaving the door open for Barcelona, confirming that he is looking to leave his current club. And of course, the update is, I told you about it in the last video, Barcelona have made an offer worth 4 million euros for the Swedish midfielder. That was the asking price of Djurgården. That's what Djurgården had received from other clubs who were also interested in Lucas Bergvall. But given the increased interest in the player, Djurgården decided to skyrocket the price and ask instead for 12 to 15 million euros, which is, 4 or 5 times or 3-4 times what was the asking price initially. So now Barcelona have to decide to either whether they do want to spend that much or they don't, or maybe Lucas Bergvall can do what Messinho is planning to do, which is insist, I only want to go to Barcelona, forcing Djurgården's hand to only negotiate with Barcelona and then lowering their asking price, because I think 12 to 15 million euros is a lot of money for a player who's still young, who has yet to prove himself. Yes, he has potential, but he's only played in Sweden. So let's not get crazy, Djurgården. You're not talking about the next Messi. Let's lower your expectations. But we'll have to see what Barcelona will decide to do, whether they decide to pay that price or not, and whether Lucas Bergvall decides to force Djurgården's hand or not. Now, speaking of young, talented player, I do want to end the live stream on this food for thought kind of moment and talk about Marc Guiu for a little bit, because he just scored a hat trick in the last match he played for Barca Athletic. Of course, he has scored goals with the first team. Whenever he played with first team, or whatever few minutes he's played with the first team, he's been able to score a goal, which begs the question, if Barcelona receive an offer for Robert Lewandowski this summer, would you, the viewer, accept that offer and only keep Vitor Roque and Marc Guiu? I would like to hear from you guys, because I think it'll be an interesting option. There is, of course, risk to only having Roque and Guiu on a team. You're talking about 2 18-year-olds, very young, inexperienced players. But I think it would be interesting because, yes, they're both center forwards, but they're both very different profile. Marc Guiu is, very tall, fast center forward who's more your old school center forward who kind of gets the ball in the box and pushes it in, kind of like an Erling Haaland. And on the other hand, we have Vitor Roque, who's more smaller but much stronger, physical center forward who can, run with the ball. He might not be able to dribble past 4 or 5 players, but he might be able to get the ball past 1, maybe 2 defenders, and then score more like a Luis Suarez. So we're talking about, yes, 2 center forwards, but nonetheless 2 very different profiles of center forwards. So do you think Barcelona should do that, keep just Roque and Guiu, or would you not risk it and maybe keep Lewandowski on the bench? Let me know, but I just wanted to end the live stream with that little bit of detail or food for thought, if you may. Now let's do a few more comments, and then we will end today's live stream. By the way, I did a video earlier today. Great news about Messinho, some news about Christensen, Ronald Araujo. So if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you check it out. Okay, let's see. Where did we leave off? There's a lot of comments in the chat section. But Igor says, any 20-plus offer for Lewy should be accepted. The club financial state is very sensitive. We need to sell whilst we can. He's already 35 anyway. Besides Saudi, I honestly don't think any club would offer 20-plus for Lewy because he's 35 years old. You know, clubs are not looking to make big investments into players, you know. Okay, let's see. Farid says, hello, Mo. Parik from Erie, Pennsylvania. All right. What do you think about if Barca trade Lewandowski to Arsenal and Barca get... The thing about trading players is the other club has to accept it. You can't just say, I want to trade this guy here. You take him whether you want it or not. And Arsenal are not going to take Lewandowski and give us Thomas Partey. They're just not. Let's see. Joey says, you never like to talk about Ferran Torres. He plays shit. I don't know why Xavi keep on starting him. I've talked about Ferran Torres many times before. I think he is a good player off the bench. I don't think he's a Barca level player. I don't think he's a player that should be a starter. I think he's a player that's good enough to come, the last 20, 30 minutes and score a goal, which has been pretty good at that. The only problem is we paid 55 million euros for him. And to have a player worth 55 million euros on your bench just doesn't make sense to me. So obviously it's better if we offload him. How we paid, 15, maybe 20 million for Ferran Torres, I will tell you, I don't mind having him on the bench. He's a good option to come off the bench, score a goal in the last minute, call it a day. I don't mind that. But when we talk about 55 million euros for a player that you're going to keep on your bench, that's when it doesn't make sense. So yes, I would offload him. Now, the only problem with Ferran Torres is that his value has gone down so much that selling him could cause a loss. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, we should sell this guy on the loss. You can't, because selling on a loss affects the financial fair play rule calculation. So it's not as easy as just saying sell this guy for a loss and this other guy for a loss, because the more loss you incur, the lower your wage limit is. So that's the only problem with Ferran Torres and why Barcelona have been unable to offload him, besides the fact that he doesn't want to leave, and he said he doesn't want to leave. It's also hard because they spent so much money on him, and offloading him right away affects the amortization calculation, which affects your financial fair play rule calculation. And we'll see. But yeah, I would offload him again. Let's see. One more, and then we will end this. Let's see. Kokovics says Laporta and the board are under pressure to turn things around. Barca is under media scrutiny too. Xavi should protect our young talent from media. Yeah, agree. Let's see. One more. Luis Solano says, considering incoming revenue via sales, palancas, etc., what players do you feel are realistic options that fit our need? Right now, anything that's young and cheap. I know people are going crazy with, oh, we should sign Mbappe. That's not happening. Verts, not happening. I think I saw someone said Haaland, not happening. Anything north 30, 40 million euros, it's not happening. First of all, we are 200 million euros above our wage limit. So even if we sell all of our players for 200 million, we still couldn't be able to sign, because that just brings us level with our wage limit. But in order to be able to sign, we have to bring it under. So not only do you have to sell 200 million euros worth of players, you have to sell 300 just to bring it under, right? And not just that, we have a lot of pending things for the summer transfer market. We have to register Gabi, who's only registered under a court order. We have to register Inigo Martinez. We only registered his first year of contract, not his second. We have to register Xabi's contract, obviously assuming he remains as coach. We have to register Balde. Only part of his contract is registered. So not only do we need to reduce our wage limit by 200 million euros just to be at the limit, but we also have to clear enough space to register all these players we already have, and then worry about signing players. So we're not signing any big players. Forget about Mbappe. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, Mbappe, he's going to be free. He's not going to be free. There's no such thing as free in football. Yes, he will be a free agent, but they're talking about Mbappe wants 126 million euro signing bonus. That's not even talking about his salary, which they're talking about 25 million euros net, which means it would cost Barcelona 50 million euros gross. So Mbappe is not happening. None of these big stars are happening. Not Wirtz, not Leao, not Haaland. All that is just pipe dreams. But anyways, that is it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I know I didn't do any live streams or big live streams like this one last week. So I'm really glad I was able to do it this week. As always, I love to interact with you guys. So thank you for all your comments, your likes. And I will see you in the next video. Good night or good morning, wherever you are in the world. And as always, Visca Barça.